Do you want to become a successful fashion model, but you're not 100% sure how to start and how to break into the industry? Well, today I'm going to give you my 100% real and unfiltered story and all the steps that I took in order to become a successful model. So, for anyone that doesn't know, my name is Dom Fenison. I've modeled all over the world. I've walked runway with people like Adriana Lena, Candace Swanepoel, Irina Shayk. I've done multiple campaigns for companies like Nike and Men's Warehouse and Giorgio Armani. And, I've been doing this for about 8 or 9 years now. And, it's been a wild ride. No one takes you to school or shows you how to do this. I did this completely on my own. And it's really been quite an adventure. And it wasn't always glamorous. There have been times where it was really difficult, and there have been times where it was amazing. So I'm going to share with you exactly what I did, and give you some advice on what you could do if this is a goal of yours. Okay, so the number one thing when it comes to trying to break into the fashion industry and become a successful model is, number one, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to really, assess yourself. And, ultimately, this isn't a profession that, you can just break into. It's something where you have to have a certain type of look, or, you have to fit, a certain type of brand's vision, so you have to be real with yourself about those things. And I think that's the number one step. The next thing that you're going to want to do if you want to become a model is you have to find some sort of representation, a manager or an agent. Now, it helps, and helps is an understatement. It is incredibly beneficial if you are connected with someone. Maybe your parent has a friend who has a friend who's a modeling agent, or someone who manages talent. Knowing someone that knows someone is always a great way to get your foot in the door. However, that is not how I started. So I started by going to things called open calls. So modeling agencies will have something called an open call, usually once a week, and it'll be, Wednesday from 3 to 4 or something like that. You can find it on their website, and you literally just come in and sit in the lobby, and maybe they'll come see you, maybe they won't. It's you run the risk of literally wasting your time and showing up for no reason. But that was how I very first started. Is I just walked into my very first agency, and the agent, the men's director took 2 minutes to come see me, and he thought that I had potential. But what's funny is that I actually didn't end up signing with him that day. I, didn't have any money. I didn't have any resources. I lived like 2 hours away from LA. So I, kind of went back home and just never really followed up because I just didn't really feel realistic. Like, I didn't even have a car at the time. I don't think I can't remember, but what ended up happening was, about a year later, maybe, I was at the beach, and the accountant for that very same agency that I'd went to the open call for saw me, and she walked up to me and she said, "Hey, I'm the accountant for this agency. Maybe you should come in sometime." And I felt like it was fate, almost like, okay, maybe I should go back in there. So I went back in. At this time I was living closer to LA. I was only like 30 minutes away from LA now. I had moved closer. And then that's when I was offered my first contract. And sometimes it can be that fast, but I had gone to not only that open call, but I had gone to other open calls in the past, and I had been, no one even saw me, or I got turned away, or, so it wasn't like things just magically worked out. And then here's another thing: once you do get your first contract, it's not like things are just going to explode for you. It absolutely could, but getting a modeling contract and being signed to a major agency doesn't just automatically mean that you're going to all of a sudden start working like crazy. Because and this leads me to the next thing, and it's about, being disciplined. You really need to take care of your health, make sure you're eating right, exercising, being in the absolute peak shape that you can be in. Because, think about it: if a major brand is going to pay you, $2,000 to $3,000 a day to take photos in their clothes, they expect you to be top of the line. There's a million people that want a model, and they're going to pick the person that they think is, going to represent their brand well. And it's not all about being in perfect shape or anything like that. It's also based on your look and what they're going for. I have a more all-American look, but there are also people that are more edgy or more ethnically ambiguous, or they have certain traits about them that fit certain brands better. But ultimately, it's a very competitive industry, and if you want to, make that kind of money, then you want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and putting yourself in the best position to be chosen. Okay, so what would I say is the next step in the modeling journey of getting started? Okay, photos, very important. So you're going to want to reach out to photographers, that are in your area, or, if you're traveling, just try to find different photographers. And ways that I did it is I would, maybe find other models that I knew, follow them, see what photographers they had shot with in the past, and I would just DM them. And I've probably DM'd over 100 photographers just saying, "Hey, you want to shoot? Would you like to shoot? Would you like to shoot?" And this way that you build up photos, because at the end of the day you need a strong portfolio if you're going to have a real career as a model, because your portfolio is what brands will look at in order to see if they want to see you or not. And here's a little tip that I'll give you that probably no one certainly told me, and you probably won't hear this from many other people, but it's the concept of looking expensive. So you can take a photo with a photographer and you could look great, you could have a great body, great face, you can, be wearing decent clothes, but then there's something about the photo that just doesn't look very rich, doesn't look very expensive. Maybe your outfit just wasn't quite good enough. Maybe, the photographer is good but not great. And a lot of models will spend years just trying to get those types of photos. And even me, I mean, throughout my whole career, I was always trying to get, connect with that right photographer that could give me those types of amazing photos that really make your portfolio stand out and help you with your career a ton. So that's just a little hint, of something that you should be pursuing, because I see a lot of models where, they show me photos, and they're an attractive person, they have style, like all that, but the photos just don't look expensive, they don't look high quality. And it makes it so that that model doesn't seem high quality even if they are. So that's something that you really want to pay attention to. And the more you shoot, the more experience you'll get. And uh and then, you really want to try to attract the most talented photographer you possibly can. Now, another thing is, you don't really want to pay for photos that much, because at the end of the day, a good photographer will see your potential, and they'll want to work with you. Now, I'm not saying you should never pay for photos, but I've probably done 200 photo shoots, not work, like just for to get portfolio photos. I've maybe paid for two or three of them. I mean, so that just goes to show you that. And usually when I paid for the photos, it was for a very specific reason. Maybe it was like I needed, very like fitness specific photos, because we were trying to go for a certain client and we just needed the photos fast. So we just said, okay, let's just pay the photographer so we can, get this done. But the vast majority of my photos were with photographers who wanted to work with me because they saw that I was, at a certain level, and they, wanted to have photos of me for their portfolio as well. So that's something that you'll want to keep in mind is, anyone that's asking you to pay a ton of money for photos, I mean, unless they are just absolutely amazing and you know that those photos are going to be like the thing that you need, don't ever buy the fact that you need to like pay to play in this industry, because I, at the end of the day, like my job as a model is to make money, not to spend money. I've never had to pay an agent, to sign me. Obviously they make their commission off the jobs that they book me, but I've never, very rarely pay a photographer. Um, so try not to get scammed because there are a lot of scams out there that'll try to get you to pay for this, pay for that, pay to introduce you to agents, don't listen to them. At the end of the day, a real modeling agency is never going to charge you anything. They're going to sign you and then they're going to push you to their clients because they think that their clients will want to book you. Okay, the next key with modeling, and this is just my personal opinion from my experience, is you should always have something else going on. Maybe it's another job that you have or a business that you started, because in modeling, not everything is entirely in your control. Meaning, you can't control if the economy's good or bad, what brands are shooting, you can't control if your agent's really pushing you that hard. There's just so many things that are out of your hands. All you can do is really focus on yourself, get good photos, stay in shape, make sure you have the right connections, make sure you're signed with the right agencies. But at the end of the day, you'll have some months where things are going amazing, and then you'll have some months where you may not work at all. And the reason I say that having something else going on or that you're working towards is important is because it will take the pressure off of you to feel like you have to succeed and you have to be working. And when you don't have that desperate energy, it actually leads to you working more. So, the model that walks into a casting and you can just feel that they just, oh my gosh, I need this job because if I don't book this, it's going to be, I'm screwed. You know, Desperation is never a good look, especially in the fashion world. It's like it's hard to explain, but so that's something that I always like to preach to models is have something else going on so that you aren't completely beholden to your modeling career, because at the end of the day, that's just what's going to be best for your mental health. And I just feel like you'll be happier that way. You don't have to listen to me. There was multiple years where I was just purely a model, just modeling full time, and that was my full time career. But I was always working on other things on the side because of the freedom that modeling gave me. I was always, getting my license in this business or starting this business or doing this and making connections. So that's just my personal advice, because a lot of models will just get sucked into the party scene, and they'll just, they're like, oh, life is great, I just booked this job, they just paid me $3,000, let's go party, and then they're partying 4 days a week. Those people never have longevity. I would say the average modeling career lasts 2 or 3 years maybe. And I've been doing this for, like I said, I've been doing this like 8 or 9 years now. So that speaks for itself, right? All right, so we covered setting your expectations. We covered trying to find an agent, getting good photos, making sure that you have the right mindset for this. Another thing is being prepared for the reality of what it is to be a model. So you're going to have a lot of castings where you're going to have to drive places, show up, meet clients, have them kind of judge you. And the majority of the time, you're not going to be chosen just because it's a numbers game. I mean, at the end of the day, if a client's looking for 3 people to book and 300 people show up, it's just no matter how good you are, you're not going to book every single one. So that just comes with the territory. Same when you're an actor and you're going on auditions. You usually don't book them, but it's just a part of the job to show up. And I notice in my career when I stopped showing up for the castings because I felt like, oh, I'm too good for it or whatever, that's when you notice work slowing down. So always make sure that you be a professional and that you show up for your castings, especially because, and this is also something I should touch on, is your relationship with your agent is very important. And if you don't show up for certain things, even a casting, it'll put a bad taste in your agent's mouth. And honestly, a big part of modeling is the politics of your relationship with your agent. There are a lot of models that do a lot of things to try to get on their agent's good side and have a great relationship with their agent and all this. I personally have found that that's a little unnecessary. It's a little too much, you know. Don't be the model that like shows up with a gift for your agent every week or calls them every week. You know, at the end of the day, be professional, be easy to work with, show up when you're supposed to, maybe get them a gift occasionally, but you don't need to be extra about it. Ultimately, you know, they're going to pitch you to their clients. If the clients like you, they'll book you. And then the more you get booked, all of a sudden, the more your agent likes you. And trust me, how much your agent likes you is directly correlated to how much money you make them. And that's about it. So, um, you know, so please keep that in mind. All right, so what else can I touch on? You know, I feel like we covered a lot in this video. If you have any questions for me, feel free to ask. You know, this can be a very rewarding industry. Like I said, I've gotten to travel the world. I grew up with very little, and I've gotten to travel to Paris, the Philippines, Cuba, Korea. You know, the list goes on and on of places that I've been able to travel to, and you know, seeing yourself at at a mall or seeing yourself on a billboard. It's a very cool and rewarding experience, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. But it's not without its cons, and you know, I think it's good to really prepare yourself for what it takes to be successful in this industry, and also be aware of all the things that you know come with it, because all the jobs that seem like they're so glamorous on the outside, they almost always have something, you know, big time challenges that most people don't think of, and modeling is one of those. So there's a lot more I could tell you, but for this video, I'll wrap it up here, and I'll see you on the next one.